Today I want to talk about my favorite silicones, glues, cements, and adhesives that I use in and around my aquariums and for my projects. So the first thing we should talk about is silicones. That is the number one question that I get about aquarium adhesives is what type of silicone can I use and what type of silicones are safe? Well, that's not necessarily an easy question to answer. I can tell you what I use, but depending on where you're located in the world, you might have zero access to these. So let's start out by telling you what I use and some recommendations, and then we'll follow it up by what you can look for in other types of silicones if you can't find these. The number one silicone that I've been using, and I've been using for about 10 years now, is GE Silicone 1 Window and Door. It's 100% silicone with no additives. The other type of silicone that I use, which is in here right now, is GE SCS 1200. It's also a great silicone. Now when I can't get to a store that sells this or I can't find it, I go to my local home hardware and get Weather Shield, which specifically states that it's safe for aquariums right on the packaging. I need to be clear here. I find zero difference in whether I use this one or any other types of silicone. I find they have the same strengths, the same consistencies, and they're about the same prices. I pay between $5 and $8 for a large tube like this. When I'm building aquariums, this is the size that I use. And for smaller tubes like these, I'll pay closer to $3 to $5. Usually I stock up on silicones when I see them go on sale though. The big tubes I use with a caulking gun to build aquariums, or some of the bigger jobs that I need to do. The smaller tubes, I like to use these for a lot of smaller jobs like installing baffles inside of a sump or any other small little job I need. Obviously this is a lot easier to get in and around everything than a big caulking gun with this on the end. So what if you can't find the ones that I use? Well, the number one thing that you want to look for is that it says 100% silicones and it has no additives. You want to look for if it says mildew resistant or mold inhibitors or anything like that. If it does, stay away from it. Those are what are not safe for your aquarium. If you've never used silicone before, it comes out in a very thick substance, typically taking about 10 minutes to start curing. And by that, it only starts to cure on the outside of it. And we call this skinning, where it forms a cured skin on the outside. The inside of the silicone will not be. For a bead of silicone that's about 6 millimeters in diameter, it's going to take about 24 hours for that to cure. For something bigger, you typically need a little bit longer. For example, for big glass tanks, I'll wait 3 to 7 days before I start a test fill. But for something as simple as a small tank like a 30-gallon or if you're resealing your tank, 24 hours is sufficient. If you're still not sure what aquarium silicone to use, ask. Join a local aquarium club, join a local forum, get on a Facebook group, and ask around and find out if anybody in your area knows of an aquarium-safe silicone that's commonly available to you. So like I said, if this doesn't apply to you, do your research and ask around locally. Okay, on to cements I use to build acrylic aquariums. When it comes to working with acrylics or even plastics for that matter, my favorite product to use is Weld. Now Weld comes in a variety of different types, including Weld 4, which is water thin, and Weld 16, which is more of a syrupy type of cement. Both doing pretty much the same thing. The differences are pretty clear though. Weld 4 is meant to bond acrylic on a molecular level. It works by softening the acrylic first, and once both edges of the acrylic soften within minutes, the Weld 4 actually evaporates, leaving behind a welded seam of acrylic that is bonded on a molecular level. Weld 4 comes in a variety of sizes. This is actually 473 milliliters. I paid about $15 for it. For example, a 100-gallon tank will only take me about 20 to 30 milliliters of Weld 4 to build it. So as you can imagine, I could build a lot of aquariums with just this one pint. When it comes to Weld 16, this is a little different. It's still great for bonding acrylics, but it's almost like silicone, whereas once you apply it, it actually remains. It doesn't evaporate. Being more syrupy in consistency, it means that it can also fill in gaps and bond things that are not perfectly flat. It also doesn't cure nearly as fast. You can still move things around for about the first 5 minutes, but after 10 minutes, it becomes a more permanent fixture. After 24 hours, it's fully cured. A little thing like this will cost me about $8, which might sound expensive, but it's entirely worth it. Once you apply it to acrylic, it's definitely permanent. Now, if you can't find Weld 4, all you need is methylene chloride, which is actually its main ingredient. If you can't find methylene chloride, chloroform actually works as well. both being water thin but cure a lot faster. So while you have about 1 to 2 minutes to work with your acrylics with this, you only have 10 to 20 seconds to work with chloroform or methylene chloride. Okay, let's move on to another cement. This is hugely popular in the hobby, and it's just simple super glue, or I like to call it Krazy Glue. When it comes to using Krazy Glues, this is for really small jobs, where you simply need a couple of small things to stick together quickly. The gel type is what I use the most. This is actually most popular for attaching plants to things like rocks and or driftwood. Any super glue is fine because once it's cured, and since you're using such a small amount, it's harmless. Now why use this instead of this? Well, Weld on 16 is typically best for acrylics and plastics, whereas super glue will bond to more surfaces. With that said, this is also a bit cheaper, being $5 and far more common to find. A glue gun is extremely useful in the aquarium hobby, especially for the do-it-yourself hobbyist, and when you need bigger jobs done and need something to cure quickly instead of waiting 24 hours like you would for silicone. This will actually go on in the same consistency as silicone, yet cure a lot faster. With that said, it's not really good to seal leaks, however, it is great to bond things together. So if you're building your own decorations, or even doing some repairs, a glue gun is perfect for it. Once cured, it's fine for underwater use as well. Now you might be thinking that a glue gun is expensive, but I got this for $10 at Walmart. And a bag full of the glue refills for about $5. This is going to last me for months. Cure times for this is typically under 30 seconds. The next thing I want to talk about is this new product called Bondic. No, I'm not sponsored and I didn't get any of this for free. I bought it at my local hardware store. In fact, they only cost $15 a piece. I stocked up on them because over the last few days I've been using this for a lot of different things and I've been completely impressed so far. Basically the way it works is it's shaped like a little pen. You take the top off and you squeeze the pen and out comes a little gel. Now that gel will never cure until you shine this ultraviolet light on it. With about 4 seconds of shining the light on it, it cures. Now it cures to a consistency much like the glue gun, except it cures slightly harder, I found. Now it could be used to bond things together. You can build up in layers, you can sand it and shape it. You can use it to fill in things. It can actually be used underwater and you can cure it underwater. You can even paint it, according to all this packaging. I've used it for a number of things already, including using it in place of soldering, which this actually ended up working really well for that. If you made it this far in the video, you're obviously into do-it-yourself aquarium projects just as much as I am. And if that's the case, I highly suggest picking up my book, The Ultimate Do-It-Yourself Handbook for the Do-It-Yourself Aquarist. You can get your signed copy at thekingofdiy.com. Anyways, hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. I certainly enjoy making them for you. Every Thursday I do a topic of the week just like this. And on Sundays I do a do-it-yourself aquarium project. So if you didn't enjoy today's video, join me next Sunday or next Thursday and I'll have something totally different.